welcome back to GTD. It is time for some F1 content as we head down to Pitbull's favorite city. It's Miami GP weekend, and I apologize because the racing is never good here. However, we at least have some racing on track. Should be fun. Qualifying here is usually a blast. I feel like I'm saying that about a lot of F1 tracks recently, but let's get into it.
Yep.
Keegan, I'm pretty ready for this week. We had the off week, and I think McLaren's going to be strong here. This is a track that suits their car well. It's hot, and I think it's going to play into their hands. Who do you have on your podium?
Yeah, ran well last year McLaren did. So I am going with the McLaren. I'm taking Norris kind of as a bounce back week. I think
it's where he got his first win.
And I think he's made a lot of mistakes this year. We know that. Mm-hmm. So I think he's kind of going to take this week to be mistake free. And when Lando's at his best in this McLaren, he's you could argue better than Piastri when they're at their best.
I think when they're both at their best, Norris is absolutely the quicker driver.
Right.
And people know I'm not a huge Lando Norris fan, but I still think he is a better... When they're both on form, Norris is quicker.
Yeah, I agree. So I'm going Norris. Then I have Russell just because the hot start that Mercedes got off to kind of cooled off. So I really think, especially after the week they had to work on things, I think they're going to kind of take this week to make a statement and be like, hey, we're still in the hunt for as far as the... for second, let's be real.
Yeah.
Let's be real for Constructors' Cup, and then Verstappen because it's Max Verstappen.
Yeah, I have Piastri. I think he maintains form. I think this is a guy who once he gets into that zone, it's going to be very hard to knock him out of it.
Yep.
So I still have him up there. Although I do have a bounce back weekend for Norris as well. I do have him coming home second. I think that this track in particular, the tires don't really degrade here as much as they grain.
So do you have Piastri out qualifying Norris and just holding on?
I think he out qualifies him,
Okay.
and I think during the race he's going to be able to hang on because it's less about tire degradation, more about working through the graining, which I think Piastri's a little bit better at. And I like Norris to come home second. And then we mentioned the graining phase. Give me Charles Leclerc in third.
Yep.
This is a guy that's repeatedly made miracles happen with tires. I think you're going to need to do that. You're going to need to protect him at this Miami track. I think he might qualify more around the fifth range, but you've watched him do it so far this year where he makes up positions. You saw it in Saudi, had the good strategy, comes home third. So
yeah, I don't trust Ferrari right now
I don't
as far
either,
as where
but
they
I trust
are.
Charles Leclerc.
That's fair, but that's why you don't see Ferrari.
Yeah, I was debating George Russell too. I don't think this is going to be a track and conditions it's going to suit the Red Bull.
Yeah.
You look when it's been really hot. You look at Bahrain. I know that's more of a cheese grater track, but still, I think that graining phase is really going to hurt the Red Bull. I'm not totally sure they have what it takes this weekend. And let's talk about Lando Norris for a bit here.
Yeah.
I know it's been a rough couple weekends. Had the bad qualifying in Bahrain, had the issues in qualifying with the crash at Saudi, and then couldn't make up all the spots despite a good drive through the field. What do you think he needs to do to kind of get back on his footing in the championship? Currently sits 10 points behind his teammate.
I think one of two things need to happen. I think either he qualifies on pole and just dominates the weekend. Obviously, that's going to be a confidence booster. Or if you don't qualify on pole, but you don't make a mistake in qualifying, you just get out qualified, maybe, let's say even fourth. You qualify fourth or third. But then you go out and just own the race and you win that anyways. I think that's very mistake-free. I think he's got to be mistake-free for this weekend to really kind of get his confidence back. And I think if he is mistake-free, I think it comes with a win just by hand.
Yeah, I agree. I think he needs the mistake-free weekend for sure. And then as far as the next three teams, you have your Red Bull, Mercedes, Ferrari kind of trio. I think this track of the three probably suits the Mercedes the best.
Yep.
I would expect Mercedes to be right behind McLaren. I would expect Red Bull and Ferrari to kind of be right with each other. And I think because of the tire management, I like Leclerc a bit here. Verstappen is obviously the best driver in the sport right now. But you look, these kind of races are the one where I think he's vulnerable, where the Red Bull is going to fade.
Yeah.
Because usually, even when it starts not good, he can kind of recover. But when that car is fading throughout a race, those are when you see Max mad on the radio and trying to cope and occasionally gets undercut by strategy. I think that's a possibility this weekend. But either way, Miami it never provides great racing, let's be honest.
So who do you think the second team will be?
I think it's going to be Mercedes.
Okay.
I would expect Russell to be right on the back of Leclerc. Maybe, I know I have Leclerc picked third, but I could easily see a world where Russell beats him. And then I think Kimi Antonelli is going to finish top 5 this weekend.
Yeah, I agree with you on everything you said about Max. As far as Mercedes and Ferrari, on one hand, do I really love the skills that Leclerc and Hamilton have at this track to perform well? Absolutely. I mean, if you're taking drivers, right, yeah, you're taking Ferrari over Mercedes all day. But the Mercedes just looks to be so good so far this year.
It's the most consistent, I think, of the other cars.
So I think now I will say this. You know what races you have coming up. Races that are very important for Ferrari. So I think if Ferrari is going to make a big push, I think it starts this weekend. I think if they make a statement this weekend, look out for them because they're going to try and build and get nice data for the races they have coming up that are very important for Ferrari and Leclerc. So I do think there's a chance Ferrari makes a statement. I'm not saying go out and finish 1-2. I'm saying make a statement behind McLaren and maybe have Hamilton and Leclerc in the top 4. But if that doesn't happen, then Mercedes.
Yep, I agree, but it should be a fun Miami GP weekend. We'll have to see what happens. But for now, that's Keegan. I'm Micah. Ton of other content this week, but for now, this has been GTD. We'll see y'all next week.